Hey pen friends, it's Kaitlin. Welcome back to another cozy journaling video. Today I'm going to be giving you a tour of my hobonichi cousin, which I have set up as a planner. I started experimenting using this book again in April of this year, and a couple months later I feel like I've gotten a system down that has been very effective for me. It's been a really great productivity tool, and it's been an excellent way for me to track what I'm doing as well as my tasks and projects. So I thought I would share it with you today. So without further ado, let's jump into it. And I'm gonna kick things off by going over the different accessories I have on the outside of the notebook. So starting off with the cover of the book, I wanted to keep the profile on this very slim since the book itself is quite large. It's A5 size and it has, I think, over 400 pages. So I wanted to just kind of protect the book but not add any extra bulk. And in order to do that, I have put on this clear cover by Midori. This is the smaller version of the clear cover. So it's the MD A5 notebook cover, not the one for the Codex book. And for this cover, I did have to use a blow dryer on it to make it fit the cousin. So you do have to stretch it a little bit by using heat, but I find that this has a much more snug fit to the book, and especially because I don't put any stickers or bulky things like photos in here since it is for planning, I don't really need, my book wouldn't really grow in thickness to fit the Codex cover, which is what often happens when people use that cover and put a lot of stuff in their cousin. So I find that the regular MD A5 notebook cover works well, but each cover is slightly different. So sometimes you'll get one in the mail and it'll be just too tight for the book, and then you have to kind of buy another one, which is a little weird, but this one fits really well now. And I like that it has some pockets on the side. I have a leaflet from Hobonichi here from the 2023 release. And then you also have a back cover here and a pen loop. I usually don't use the pen loop. The only time I have been using it is when I bring my planner to the office. I will use the pen loop and I will stick in my fountain pen here, which I use to write in my planner. And it's kind of tricky, but yeah, essentially I'll just kind of slide it in here. I don't even slide it into the pen loop, although you can. And then I just have it attached like this. This is currently how I actually bring the planner to work as well when I go downtown to the office, but I am looking at a bit of a better solution for traveling with this guy, since I want to be able to bring more supplies with me and also have some pockets for storing different things. Besides the notebook cover, the only other thing I really accessorize this book with right now is a pencil board. This one is from Hobonichi, and it is the Soul Lighter version of this pencil board. This, I believe, came out in 2022, but I picked it up during the 2023 Hobonichi launch because they brought this pencil board back. And I just like how kind of neutral and subtle it is. So I keep this in here. Usually I'll use it to kind of mark the daily section I'm on. And then the last thing that I do use in this book are these tabs here. These are the Midori index tabs. They are the copper color, but I've also heard them being referred to as orange. You can get them at Jet Pens or at local stationery stores like Wonder Pens and Paper Plus Cloth in Toronto. And I like these because I can slip them on the main sections of my book, so I can easily flip to the different sections really easily. And besides that, that is all the kind of accessories that I really keep in here. And in terms of supplies that I use with this book, I use a couple things. I have my pen, which I use with this book, which currently is the Traveler's Company brass fountain pen in the fine nib. I have this inked with a cartridge of J. Urbain Le Détail. I also have my pencil, which I use in here, which is also a brass product from Traveler's Company. This one is the brass pencil, which I really like because it's very travel friendly, and I've had this pencil for a couple years and it's definitely a splurge, but it is one of my favorite things to use. I also have a ruler. This one is a clear fold-out ruler by Muji that I got like probably 5 years ago. It's kind of scratched, but it gets the job done. And then I also will use the memo pads by Hobonichi in both the A5 size and the A6 size. And then finally, I do like to use washi tape in my book to tape different things in when I need to. My favorite washi tape is by Yohaku, and I really like these thin ones that I have for taping in different things when I need to. Starting at the beginning of the book, there's a couple pages which I will look at because they're helpful but don't really use, especially right now because I am using a 2023 book in 2024. So obviously all of these calendars are very, very wrong, but these are kind of helpful to look at for dates, I suppose. The first section that I use is the yearly index by Hobonichi, and I have a couple examples of how I've done it here, but what I like to use this for is, as the name suggests, an index for different notes that I have taken in my daily sections that I might want to reference. So I have things in here like on the 29th of May, I have Ireland PL abbreviated, which stands for plans. So this was where I was planning my plans and how I wanted to travel around Ireland when we went in June. I also have one here on the 14th of June, which says Hobo Prices, which is short for Hobonichi Prices. This was when I was pricing out the different A5 Hobonichi books because I wanted to replace this one with the 2024 version. And I really try to only write things down that I think I could maybe want to reference later. So something that isn't as important, I probably won't write here, but things that might be useful to look back on, like how I planned a trip or prices for stationery, important knowledge, I do like to include here. And this is with my fountain pen that I'm writing this with. So everything you'll see going forward is with my Traveler's Company fountain pen. So for my monthly section, I use this very traditionally, as one might expect for a monthly calendar. Although I do have a separate book where I like to write future events, which is my Passport Traveler's Notebook, I do like to use this area to write high-level plans that are kind of key things to keep in mind for the month. So things like holidays, such as Father's Day in June for us in Canada, if I'm meeting a friend for dinner, if it's someone's birthday, if I get a long weekend, all of that kind of stuff. You'll start to notice that there's not very much decoration in this book, and that's quite intentional because this is a planning space. If I feel like it, I'll definitely put down a sticker, but for the most part, I'm mainly focusing my energy in this book in just writing down the important information, since that is kind of the purpose of this guy. It's very bare bones, very functional, and very much meant to be planning and event specific to make sure that I just have this to reference instead of trying to keep track of it in my brain. So yeah, it's looking kind of bare, just some writing for key events here, but it gets the job done. Moving on to the weekly section, this is where I think the planner gets interesting and where I find this is the most helpful for planning my life. This is how I organize my weekly spreads, which I use as a combination of a master task list for the week, as well as a kind of space to jot down and log high-level events that have happened during the week. So you will see here I have a piece of paper washi taped in. This is the A6 memo pad, so I will use this to washi tape in on the week my master task list, which I've organized in the format of an Alistair method list. I always struggle to explain this, but I will do my best to give the shortest possible recap of what the Alistair method is if you're curious or don't know what it is, but essentially it is a way of creating to-do lists where you have a different category on each column. So for myself, each category is the day of the week. And then what you can do is you can essentially schedule tasks over multiple categories or multiple days. So this not only allows me to write down things and schedule when I want to do them on a future date during the week, but also it allows me to write down something that might span multiple days. So I feel like it's just a very effective way to realistically plan your tasks during the week. For myself, how I've written this out, because I tend to have less things to do on the weekend, is I have Monday through Friday written in their own column, and then the weekend I just have as its own column, and then I have a dot as the final column, which is where I slot in day-specific tasks. So if I flip this over, you will see the main weekly view of the hobonichi, and where my memo pad leaflet is my tasks for the week, this weekly view is where I write down my events for the week. Unlike my monthly spread, I don't write these down in advance. I prefer to kind of use this as a running log of what has happened in the day, so that when I sit down to journal about the day later, I have something to reference to kind of see what happened, and then I can kind of think to myself, what was the highlight I want to record, or what was the moment that really resonated with me the most that I want to actually capture in my journal. Because I don't tend to do much around the midnight mark, what I've used this section for is actually recording TV shows I've been watching, movies I've been watching, games I've been playing, and books I've been reading. So you'll see here I have movies like Dune on Monday night, and then on Wednesday I was playing Tears of the Kingdom on my Nintendo Switch. So this is also helpful because sometimes I won't want to write about what I did that day, since it might just not be anything interesting that I want to capture. And instead, if there's something interesting I did when I was playing Tears of the Kingdom, or I want to write my thoughts about a movie I watched, I can actually go ahead and use that as the topic I want to journal about for the day. So I do find tracking media very helpful for that purpose, and also I just find it incredibly interesting to see what I was watching in addition to what I was doing during the week. So we are coming to the end of this tour, and I think the best place to end off would be going over the daily pages. And the daily pages are also one of my favorite spaces because I'm a big list person, so having a page every day to write down my to-do list is something that I found to be very essential to both my personal life as well as my work life. Specifically at work, I find that I will have tasks come up during the day that I maybe didn't plan for in advance. So because of that, I do love having this big A5 page to be able to capture anything that might be coming down the line. And unless it's like a really hectic day, for the most part, I can fit all of my tasks on here without a problem. I've never gotten to the point where I've needed more than an A5 page for my task list, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think I would want to have to do that much stuff. I think it would be a little chaotic to try to do that many things in one day, but having the full A5 page to write things down is something that I really like because some days I just have more to do than others. So essentially all I do is I just write my running list for the day in the form of a task list. When I create this list, I will use the bullet journal notation method of recording tasks, where you do a dot for a task, one side of an X for a task in progress, and then the completed X for a task that has been completed. And I also will use the migration arrow to show when a task has been moved. But I don't record things like events in here because I like to keep those in my weekly section. And I found that separating my tasks and events has been very valuable for me because I can look at my task list and just see my tasks. So I like that it's a little more focused and I don't have to look for tasks scattered between events and kind of figure out what's going on. I like just having all my tasks in one place, and because I just keep my to-do list here, I can also very easily see how long it is and how much I have to do. So I do like keeping those separate, and that's been something I've been really enjoying. The other thing I will do in my daily page is I will use the bottom half of the page if I have room for a note, if I need to take a note that day. These are usually things like travel plans. If I have an important detail for work I need to write down, I'll put that here as well. On this page, you can see that I've written down the jet pen prices for the different hobonichi products they have for 2024. And I like to use pencil for this because I find that sometimes when I'm taking notes, I'll need to change stuff or erase things, but Also, I do kind of like the differentiation in color that happens between my tasks and my notes. So my tasks are with my fountain pen. Usually tasks aren't canceled for me. If anything, I'll migrate them. But for notes, sometimes I'll want to like erase something or organize them differently. So having that in pencil I find is really helpful. And again, having the A5 page is so nice because I can write notes in the bottom of a page, and I usually do have room for that. So it's nice to be able to include all of the thoughts and all of the tasks and all of the notes in one space. And again, if I do want to reference a note on my daily page that I think is helpful, this is the kind of thing that I would then write back in that yearly index. And that pretty much wraps up how I've been using my Hobonichi cousin. So that was an overview of the book, the accessories, as well as how I use all of the different sections of this notebook. As I mentioned, I will be getting another one of these books, so expect to see that in the upcoming Techokaigi mid-year update video. So mini spoiler there, I guess, but yeah, I will be continue using this book in the way that I just showed you today. Of course, with the 2024 version, which means that finally I have correct dates to reference, which is very exciting. But besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you maybe found it helpful or interesting. And besides that, I will catch you in the next video. Bye, everyone.